The corridors of Buckingham Palace have witnessed centuries of secrets, but nothing quite like what transpired in the last 120 seconds. What you're about to hear isn't palace spin or carefully crafted PR. It's the sound of an institution choosing survival over sentiment, duty over blood. Prince William and Princess Anne, two figures who represent the steel backbone of the modern monarchy, have just confirmed what many feared, but few dared to speak aloud. The decision regarding Prince Harry isn't temporary, it isn't a cooling-off period. It is final, absolute, and heartbreakingly permanent. For those who understand the language of power, this moment represents something far more significant than a family squabble played out in public view. Before we continue, please kindly subscribe. We are on a journey to reach 1,000 subscribers in less than 2 weeks, and we're counting on you. Like, comment, and hit on the notification bell. This is constitutional surgery performed without anesthesia, a deliberate severing of ties that transforms a prince into a private citizen and a brother into a stranger. William and Anne didn't arrive at this position through cruelty or vindictiveness. They arrived here through the brutal mathematics of monarchy, where every variable must serve the equation of continuity. And Harry, it seems, had become an unsolvable problem. Consider the weight of William's position. Here stands a man who once walked beside his brother through the unbearable grief of losing their mother, who shared the peculiar prison of royal life, who understood better than anyone the suffocating weight of expectation. Yet it was William who reportedly drove this decision forward with an iron determination that some might call ruthless. Why? Because he sees what others cannot or will not see. He sees his own children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, growing up in a world where ambiguity breeds chaos and where half measures threaten the very foundation his son will one day inherit. The calculus is simple but agonizing. To protect the future, he must sacrifice the past. Princess Anne brings a different kind of authority to this confirmation. She is the royal family's truth-teller, a woman who has spent decades watching the institution bend and nearly break under the weight of modern media scrutiny. Anne doesn't deal in sentimentality. She deals in survival. When she stands beside William and confirms this unthinkable decision, she isn't just supporting her nephew. She's defending a system that has outlasted wars, abdications, and scandals precisely because it knows when to cut away the infected tissue to save the body. Her presence in this announcement is deliberate and devastating. It signals that this isn't merely William's judgment, it's the judgment of the institution itself. The public has been fed a carefully managed narrative for years. We were told that distance and time would heal the rift, that private conversations were ongoing, that hope remained for reconciliation. But behind those polished statements, a very different reality was unfolding. Every leaked story, every tell-all interview, every commercial venture built on royal grievances created what insiders now call a trust hemorrhage. The palace could withstand public criticism. It could survive uncomfortable truths being aired. What it could not survive was the perpetual uncertainty, the endless speculation about whether Harry remained an asset or had become a liability. William and Anne's confirmation resolves that uncertainty with surgical precision. Harry is no longer a contingency in the line of succession planning. He is no longer consulted on matters of state. He is no longer considered when crisis protocols are activated. The documents have been signed, the legal frameworks adjusted, and the constitutional machinery has moved forward without him. This isn't punishment in the traditional sense. It's elimination of a variable that threatens system stability. In the cold language of institutional preservation, Harry has been reclassified from family member to external entity. Think about the psychological warfare that preceded this moment. For months, perhaps years, William wrestled with impossible competing loyalties. Love for his brother battled against duty to the crown. The memory of their shared childhood fought against the reality of irreconcilable differences. But there's a moment in every crisis where sentiment must surrender to necessity, where the heart must bow to the head. William reached that moment when he realized that Harry's continued ambiguity wasn't just destabilizing his father's reign. It was poisoning the ground his own son would one day have to walk. The question became stark and unavoidable. Sacrifice the brother to save the institution, or risk the institution to preserve a relationship that had already been shattered beyond repair. Anne's role in this confirmation cannot be understated. She represents continuity, the living link between Elizabeth's stoic reign and the uncertain future ahead. When she adds her voice to William's, she's not just agreeing with a decision, she's encoding it into the institutional memory of the monarchy itself. Future historians will look back at this moment and recognize it as the inflection point where the House of Windsor chose consolidation over expansion, where it decided that being smaller but stronger trumped being inclusive but vulnerable. Anne has seen enough royal crises to know that ambiguity is the enemy of stability. And stability is the only currency that matters when you're trying to preserve a 1,000-year-old institution in a world that questions its very existence. The confirmation William and Anne delivered wasn't accompanied by theatrical displays of emotion or dramatic pronouncements. That's not how power actually works. Real power whispers, it doesn't need to shout because it doesn't need to convince. The decision regarding Harry was communicated in the language of bureaucratic finality. Updated website biographies, adjusted protocol documents, modified succession planning materials. To the untrained eye, these might seem like administrative details. To those who understand institutional power, they represent the complete erasure of a person from the machinery of state. Harry hasn't just been removed from the picture. The frame itself has been resized so that the empty space doesn't show. But here's what makes this moment truly heartbreaking rather than merely strategic. William knows exactly what he's done. He hasn't fooled himself into believing this is somehow painless or that duty makes it noble. He's condemned himself to a lifetime of looking at that empty space and knowing he put it there. Every family gathering, every public appearance, every moment when protocol demands a united front, he'll feel the absence like a phantom limb. The brother who should be standing beside him will be an ocean away, legally and constitutionally transformed into a stranger. Anne understands this cost, too. She's seen enough of royal life to know that the crown always extracts its price, and that price is almost always paid in the currency of human connection. Before we continue with what this means for the monarchy's future and the chilling details of how this decision will reshape everything, make sure you're subscribed. What comes next isn't just royal gossip or palace intrigue. It's the blueprint for how power perpetuates itself by consuming its own children. Hit that subscribe button because the truth about institutional survival is something they never want you to fully understand. The machinery of monarchy doesn't announce its most consequential decisions with fanfare. It simply adjusts the gears and continues forward, leaving those caught in the mechanism to reckon with what's been lost. William and Anne's confirmation of Harry's final status represents more than a family's internal resolution. It represents the complete triumph of institutional logic over human feeling and the terrifying efficiency with which systems of power can erase inconvenient truths. Consider what's actually happening beneath the surface of this announcement. The palace isn't just removing Harry from official duties or stripping ceremonial titles. It's engaging in what intelligence agencies might call total disassociation, the systematic removal of a person from every lever of influence, every channel of communication, every pathway that might allow them to impact the institution's trajectory. William has reportedly overseen the creation of protocols that ensure Harry cannot, even in the most extreme crisis scenarios, be recalled to service. This goes beyond pragmatism into something approaching vindictiveness, except that vindictiveness implies emotion, and what we are witnessing is far colder than that. Anne's involvement provides the historical context that makes this decision so significant. She remembers when the monarchy was genuinely under threat, when public opinion could have swept away the entire institution if the wrong moves were made. She survived the transition from deference to scrutiny, from automatic respect to earned legitimacy. Her confirmation of this decision signals that she believes Harry represents the kind of existential threat that requires permanent resolution. Not because he's individually dangerous, but because the uncertainty he embodies, the question of whether he's in or out, loyal or independent, is itself corrosive to institutional stability. The timing of this confirmation is revealing. It comes not in a moment of crisis, but in what appears to be relative calm that's deliberate. William and Anne are ensuring that this decision is framed as proactive rather than reactive, as strategic planning rather than damage control. They're saying, in effect, that this isn't about responding to Harry's latest move. It's about recognizing a fundamental incompatibility that no amount of time or goodwill can resolve. Harry wanted to be partially royal, to keep one foot inside the institution while planting the other firmly outside it. The confirmation makes clear that such a position is constitutionally impossible. You're either a full member of the firm or you're a private citizen. There is no hybrid model, no middle ground, no compromise is available. What makes this particularly devastating is the human cost that William and Anne are fully aware they're incurring. They're not naive or callous. They understand that they're choosing to perpetuate a wound rather than heal it to make permanent what might have been temporary. But they've made a calculation, conscious and deliberate, that the cost of continued ambiguity exceeds the cost of brutal clarity. They've decided that it's better for the monarchy to be criticized for coldness than to be vulnerable to unpredictability. It's better to know exactly where the boundaries are, even if those boundaries run through the middle of a family, than to exist in perpetual uncertainty about who's aligned with the institution and who's working against it. The confirmation also reveals something about William's vision for his own eventual reign. He's building a fortress monarchy, smaller and harder than what came before. The sprawling extended family model that characterized Elizabeth's era is being replaced by something far more contained. William, Catherine, and their children at the center. Anne and Edward providing experienced support, Charles maintaining continuity during the transition. Everyone else is peripheral, and Harry isn't even that anymore. He's been moved from peripheral to external, from family member to foreign entity. This isn't just about Harry, it's about establishing a precedent. Future generations will understand that loyalty to the institution is absolute and non-negotiable, and that anyone who tries to maintain a foot in both worlds will be forced to choose. Anne's historical perspective adds weight to this precedent setting. She's essentially saying that the lessons of the past several turbulent decades point toward consolidation. The monarchy nearly destroyed itself, trying to be everything to everyone, trying to satisfy both traditional expectations and modern demands for transparency and authenticity. That approach produced chaos. William and Anne's confirmation suggests a return to a more autocratic model where the institution defines the terms and individuals either accept them or leave. There's no room for negotiation, no space for compromise, no possibility of creating new models that might work better in contemporary circumstances. The public reaction to this confirmation reveals deep divisions about what the monarchy should represent. Younger demographics, particularly those who value personal autonomy and emotional authenticity, see this decision as proof that the institution is fundamentally incompatible with modern values. They see William and Anne as cold enforcers of an archaic system that prioritizes appearance over reality, duty over humanity. Older demographics and traditionalists, conversely, see this as necessary housekeeping, the proper maintenance of boundaries that should never have been allowed to blur. They applaud William's toughness and Anne's steadfastness, seeing these qualities as exactly what's needed to preserve an institution under constant assault from changing cultural norms. What neither side fully grasps is the internal agony that likely accompanies this decision. William isn't a sociopath. He's a man who has sacrificed his brother on the altar of institutional preservation, and he'll live with that choice for the rest of his life. Every time he sees his own children playing together, he'll remember that he's the one who ensured such bonds are conditional, subject to institutional approval. And for all her famous toughness, has watched enough families destroyed by the crown to know that what they're confirming today will echo across generations. The children growing up in this family will learn that love is secondary to duty, that blood is less important than hierarchy, that human connection is expendable when institutional survival is at stake. The confirmation also creates a template for how future problems will be handled. If someone else in the family deviates from the approved script, if they question the system or try to forge their own path, they now know exactly what consequences await. William and Anne haven't just dealt with the Harry problem. They've created a deterrent system designed to ensure no one else ever tries what Harry tried. It's governance through preemptive intimidation, the demonstration of power, not through its use, but through the credible threat of its use. Everyone in the family now understands the stakes. Step out of line and you don't get a second chance, you get permanent exile. As this confirmation reverberates through the institution and the public consciousness, we're left with profound questions about what kind of monarchy we're actually preserving. Is an institution worth maintaining if it requires the systematic suppression of individual agency? Can a family function as the symbolic heart of a nation if it can't maintain basic human connections within its own walls? William and Anne have answered these questions with their actions. They've said essentially that the institution matters more than the individuals within it, that survival justifies any sacrifice, that the crown must endure even if everything human about it is burned away in the process. This is the monarchy William is building, streamlined, fortified, and utterly unforgiving. Do you believe this is the right path forward, or has the crown sacrificed its humanity to preserve its power? Does William's confirmation make you respect the institution more, or does it reveal something fundamentally broken at its core? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this conversation is bigger than one family. It's about how we allow systems of power to define what matters and what doesn't, who belongs and who's cast out. Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching Daily Royal Secrets.